Hey folks, how you doing? This is Kurt. I'm up a couple minutes early. I'm not really scheduled till 10 o'clock Central, but I wanted to get in here just a little bit early. And one of the things I want to do is just kind of open with that Action Leadership Team bumper, because I was kind of on the cusp of this talk. Like, is this really like an Action Leadership Team topic, or is this really like a Manana no Mas topic? And when you have multiple projects, you have to start thinking to yourself, okay, so what goes where? What goes where? What message fits which thing the best? And I wanted to make sure audio was good. I'm showing audio is working on my end, and it looks like we are connected to. We're here in StreamYard, so we've got Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Yep, we've got a couple of YouTubes going, and X. We've got Manana no Mas at X that is working. So, folks, if you are seeing this, just go ahead and put your comments in. Um, Comments, questions, any feedback that you would have. Um, kind of a great way to go, and if you want, just go ahead and tell me where you're from. Tell me what's going on there, and if you've got any comments or questions, obviously go ahead and put those in. And let's see what else we have in here that we can throw up on screen. Ooh, I haven't done this in a while. We've got a free digital planner at actionleadershipteam.com. I do it every year. I think this is the fourth year I've done it, but I create a planner that works in the Remarkable 2 tablet, and it's free. Just go there, and it's about 1,300 pages deep, right? So that's where these digital planners really come in handy, because instead of walking around with a giant encyclopedia under your arm all the time, you've just got well, I got mine right here. Let me pick it up. It's right here, right? So my planner is 1,300 pages deep, and I've got 4 years of it in here. And what's nice about Remarkable is when you keep your notes and things like that, things are searchable. And so you're able to go in, search things, find things, all that kind of stuff like that. And the Action Leadership Team, that is all stemmed from the book Action Leadership from the Edge. And so if you are curious as to know, like, where's this Action Leadership Team thing coming from? I know Kurt's the manana guy, but what's this Action Leadership Team thing about? We do have that book that we sell at actionleadershipteam.com. You can get the ebook, or you can order a hard copy if that's something that you would prefer to do. Now, today's topic is super, super interesting to me, and I hope it's super interesting to you too. Um, I saw a couple of posts go back and forth between Kevin Geary and, most notably, Robert. I'm going to say his name is DeVore. Hopefully, I'm saying it right. Devore, Robert DeVore. And they seem to be going at each other a little bit about the value of a WordPress website. And see, this is the problem when you have an open source project like WordPress. Because WordPress is open sourced. By the way, open source means you can download it for free and use it for free. Because it's open sourced, there's some assumptions. People will say, "Oh, well, my nephew could do it," or "It's so easy. My dog could make me a website. You know what? I'm going to go to the zoo and see if a chimpanzee can make me a website." But then something happens. You see, over time, because it's open source and because there's many contributors, the project grows in scope immensely. So, WordPress, for those of you that aren't aware, WordPress has like 60,000 tools available in what they call the WordPress repository. It's basically a library connected to WordPress. And you can go in there and you can pick these tools and add them to your website and increase functionality and design and all kinds of things. And again, somebody that is unaware or doesn't understand the nuances of design or the nuances of building a website, they would come away with an assumption of, oh, well, that's easy. All you got to do is sign in, click a button, and add it to your website. And I have been making a living under the name Manana no Mas since 2008, using these tools. So to be clear, we used to use tools like Dreamweaver, and we used to build HTML websites, and then we did Joomla websites, and I even think we had a commercial Drupal site that we did for a little bit. That didn't work out so good. And then there was one by, I think it was by Camelback. Camelback. It's called Live Sites. Pardon me. And I ran a Live Sites website for a large corporation for years. And so I am not only a WordPress person, right? So I want to make it like really clear. I'm not only a WordPress person. I am open to all kinds of things. Just 2 months ago, we took a bunch of our online courses from a WordPress site and put them into a Learn-a-Pon site for a client. And so, understanding that we are not like Mañana No Mas is not in a walled garden. We can go out and we can do whatever we want to do. But Kevin and Robert were having this conversation about what is the value of a WordPress website. And Kevin said, if you have a client that doesn't have $5,000 to build a website, you don't have a client. Plain and simple. Like if they don't have a $5,000 budget to build a website for a business, they don't have a business. And so Robert got upset about that. And then Robert replied. And the next thing you know, they end up on a show together. And that show was yesterday. And I got to tell you, it was a spicy show. These two really don't have a lot of respect for each other in the space to begin with. And that'll happen in communities. But it's interesting to see it play out in real time and see how they communicate with each other and what they do. Kevin it can be a very brash, can be a in your face type personality. And I've said this, like, he's got my money. I've spent money with the man. He's got my money, so I don't think he's an idiot, but he can be hard to listen to sometimes, right? Because he'll be like in your face, He's got this phrase. He says, "Well, that's chump-like design." You design websites like that, and that's because you're a chump. You're using chump-like. You're not a professional, and he'll go down that role with you. Robert's a little more laid back. Robert's more like, hey, can't we all just get along? Can't we all just figure out how to help each other, add value to each other? Not everything's about money. We can just do things to be nice. Like that comes up. And so this topic, I think, is going to generate some comments if people jump in here and join the live. And so if you are seeing this or if you're following this, I'd love some of your input or your thoughts here as we go. So Kevin was saying, if you don't have at least $5,000 to spend on a website, you're not a customer, right? It's like you're a hobbyist. Go get your sister's son to go get your nephew and see if he'll build you a website, because you're not serious. You don't have a budget. And can people jump in and move some pixels around and make a website? Yes, they can. But can people build websites with intention? Can people build websites that will convert? Can people build websites with the proper user experience? Can people build? And that's where, as Kevin was talking, that's where a lot of it was really hitting home with me as the guy that owns Mañana No Mas. Because here's the deal. I said right at the beginning, WordPress has like 60,000 tools in the library to choose from. Now, there's also paid things that you can go out and pay for and add to your website. Okay, so just imagine you've got this tool, you've got this little thing that makes a website, right? And then you've got all of these other tools that add features and design and everything to this website. And customers, business owners, they don't have a working knowledge of all this stuff. Like if your business is selling fish, you know how to catch fish, clean fish, fillet fish, you know how to bread fish, you know how to batter fish, you know how to fry fish, you know how to bake fish. But you probably don't know how to make a website. And the mistake is someone will say, oh, just go to Wix or Squarespace because, the commercial says you can have your website up in 15 minutes. What they're not telling you is to have your website up in 15 minutes, you need to have fully prepared content, fully prepared images, fully prepared ideas of the user experience, how you want people to experience the website. What do you want? What's the website for? Is it to sell your fish? Is it to sell prepared fish? Is it to sell fishing trips? So you see where I'm going with this? So you have to think like, what is this about? And so that's what Kevin was really talking about. What Kevin was really talking about wasn't like, can I load WordPress to a server? Okay, that's $5,000. No, Kevin was trying to say, look, if you're working with a customer, you're going to have a relationship. That relationship is going to take time. You're going to have to do discovery calls. You're going to have to talk to other stakeholders within that business. You're going to have to understand what is their business, right? So now not only are you an expert in your business, but now you got to become an expert in their business. What is their process? What's their process map look like? How do they create the widget or the thing that they sell? And then how do you create messaging that draws customers to come to that product and convert, make purchases, or become part of that community? And as Kevin was describing that, Robert was just kind of sitting there, like kind of laughing, big smile on his face. And I could tell, he's like, this isn't what I wanted to talk about at all. You're saying you're going to charge someone $5,000 to make a website. Show me this $5,000 website that's so awesome that you built. And Kevin's like, we could talk fiction all day long, but the real world is you have to do your homework. You have to work with people to understand what they need. I made that coffee in the French press. It's really strong. It's good. It's good. So, as Kevin was having this conversation and Robert was kind of bantering back, there was a little bit of a circle, and you could tell that they were talking about two different things, and the comments were going kind of crazy, but I couldn't help but think about my real experiences. And, as I begin to share with you kind of like our little journey as an agency, again, feel free, jump into the comments, let me know what you think, what you feel, how does this align with you? Um, let's take a ride back in time. Like before Manana No Mas was Manana No Mas, it was called Von Annen Designs and PR. I thought that was a super, super eloquent name. And so Von Annen Designs and PR started when I worked in the car business. I always said, man, I can't wait till I can work from home. And so I started working from home and I started Von Annen Designs and PR. And I started making websites for a couple of nonprofits and a couple of things. And they were almost like favors. And I remember vividly, I made a couple of websites for a couple of nonprofits in town. It was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this lady from the Moms Club, she started her own business. She reached out to my wife and she said, I hear your husband makes websites. Um, I need a website for my business, and I don't know if she was like selling Melaleuca or what, because this is like way back in the day. And so I thought, well, she's part of the Moms Club. She's with my wife. Let's do her a solid. Just tell her I can put something together for like $500. And that woman had a fit. Oh, that's a lot of money. I thought I was friends with your wife. I thought you were going to do me a favor. I thought we had a relationship. I thought, $500 is the friend's price, and that's where it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like there is no value on the time or the expertise or anything unless you declare it. So that's what started to happen to me. Now, during this Von Annen Designs and PR time, I wanted to work from home. As soon as I started working from home, I realized I can't work from home. I got to get an office. So I got an office. I was married, 2 little kids. It wasn't going to work, right? Like I could not be productive within the house. So I needed to find an office, but I needed to find an office I could afford. So I found out about this organization called the South Valley Economic Development Center, SVEDC. And I went there, met with someone named Tim. Tim gives me a tour of the building, and they had a commercial kitchen. They had a couple of conference rooms. I think they had upstairs offices. Yeah, because I ended up being upstairs. So they had a downstairs offices, upstairs offices. And so it was like a shared office center. And the deal was you could be there for a year and then you had to move on. So you were either going to fail or you were going to expand, one of the two. And it was an economic development center. So it was like an incubator, but not really like an incubator. They rented me the space. I think it was $120 a month, I think. So I pay the $120. I get in. They give you the furniture and everything. So now I got an office. Things start moving. As soon as I got an office, business tripled. People are coming in. I got things happening. What am I doing? I'm building WordPress websites now. Well, I was still building some HTML sites because I remember I did one for a plumbing company that was in Dreamweaver. Anyway, I digress. I'm building these websites and I'm doing them for $500 or $600. I mean, and the SVEDC is meeting with new businesses, right? So people would have a new business idea. They go to the SVEDC. The SVEDC says, "Hey, we can help you. We can get you some financing over here. We can get you this. If you need to, you need a fleet vehicle for your plumbing company, we can hook you up with this GMC dealer." They are always trying to put things together. And for them, they were like, from the marketing perspective, you need a website. We got a guy right down the hall. And so I started getting all these referrals. And I did a little bit of thinking and I was like, okay, a lot of these guys are startups. They don't have a lot of budget. So, I mean, probably the biggest I could charge would be $1,000 for a website. And let's let them make a 50% deposit. And then I'll meet with them and then I'll kind of figure out what they want. And then I'll say, okay, it's $1,000 or whatever. So it's a 50% deposit. And then I'll tell them I need their logo. I need an About Us section for their About Us page. And I need to know specifically what they're going to sell. Like they need to let me know what's going to generate the e-commerce in this website. So what are the services or what are the products that you're selling? Now, we had people that like made homemade salsa. We had people that roasted coffee. We had people, caramel apples. Like we had people from all kinds of walks of life. Here's what happened. Oh my gosh, I'm going to give myself a migraine going back and thinking about this. They would have the first meeting, not be ready to write a check. Come to the second meeting, write the deposit check, and then ask me to hold it for 3 or 4 days. So you already know you're dealing with people that are broke. And then I would say, well, we're going to meet in 2 weeks. I'll have the website started. It'll be on the server. You're going to need to come with your logo and your content that needs to go in the website. And let me know what colors you want to use. Give me an example of 3 or 4 websites that you like so that I can kind of emulate a look and a feel that you would appreciate. Work with me on this, folks. Try and get into my head and figure out what's happening. I'm trying to grow a business, but I really don't know like a flow yet. And because I'm still trying to figure it out, I assume that my $500 or $1,000 for a whole website is like I'm asking somebody for their left arm. All right, let me fast forward you through this. This becomes a nightmare. Over the next 18 to 24 months, I end up with about 72 half-done projects. Nobody's bringing me the second check to pay off their balance. Nobody's bringing me a professional logo to put on a website. Nobody is bringing me content to fill in the About Us page. So I've got 72 shells of websites hanging out on a server. Nothing's getting done. I've got nothing in my portfolio other than, the dribs and drabs of things that I have managed to complete or samples I've managed to do of my own projects. And I've got a list of people that want to keep working with me, but have no money. So one day I'm in the conference room. I'm talking to a couple of different customers at the same time, and it's the same conversation. It is, I have given you homework. Folks, I have done what I promised to do. I have built the shells of these websites. These websites are sitting on a server just waiting for your content. I need your logos. I need a couple of paragraphs and a description of your products. That's all I'm asking for, and I can finish these websites. And then I slipped and I got angry and I said, mañana no más. Okay, because you have to remember, I'm in New Mexico. Almost all these clients are Hispanic. And I said, mañana no más. You cannot continue to put off till tomorrow what you should be doing today. I can't make you successful unless you want to be successful. I can't force you to be a success. You have to want it. All I can do is help it. And so someone that worked at the SVEDC kind of wheels out and says, hey, Kurt, that would be a great name for your business. And I was like, done. So the next day, I reserved Mañana No Más as a business name, and we changed some policies. And this is going to sound like the Kevin side of the argument. So I want you to kind of track what's happening from the Kevin side. So Kevin and Robert were talking about pricing. Kevin, of course, says, if you don't have $5,000, you're not a customer. And Robert's like, well, surely there's a lot you can do on a more modest budget. Yes. So let me work with you here. We've got at this point, maybe a half a dozen websites that are done and complete. And we've created, oh my goodness, I hate to say it's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. What, $6,000, $7,000 in revenue? Like that's it, right? Um, oh my gosh, it really is. So anyway, from the Kevin perspective, I say mañana no más. I can't make you successful unless you want to be successful. And things start to happen. I reserve the name, mañana no más. I change the name, mañana no más. I register mañana no más with the SVEDC, right? That's where I'm doing business. So now I got to change the lease and all that stuff. What do? They say, Kurt, this is an amazing idea. This is a complete change for you. We're going to extend your office by a year, and we're going to give you the bigger office upstairs. All right. Things are starting to happen. People started to recognize that I was making a change, so they were willing to change. All right. Now, what happened to deposits? Deposits out the window. We're not doing deposits anymore. If you want to be a customer of Mañana No Mas, remember, I had a waiting list of people that wanted to come in, right? So if you want to be a customer of Mañana No Mas, there are no payments. You got to pay everything up front. You're going to get some homework, and you're going to get some deadlines for that homework. If you don't have your homework done on time, you go to the back of the list. If you don't have your homework done the next time, you're out of the program and you don't get your money back, because I've already started your account on the server. I've already met with you. You've already burned my time. So if you don't do your homework and you don't get your homework done by deadline, you're out of the program. I'm keeping your money. Period. We'll move to the next person in line. This sounds like horrible customer service. I understand a lot of people are watching now and they're going, "Oh my God, what did he do? He had like a heart attack. He had a stroke. He must have had a stroke." I didn't have a stroke. This to me is what changed everything, and this was a stroke of genius. So from 2008 forward, Mañana No Mas is prepaid. Prepaid. I don't have an accounts payable department. I don't have a collections department following people up and begging for money that we've already earned. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that. We are prepaid. If we are working with customers on an extended project, let's say someone hires us for 2 years of maintenance on a contract, they're going to pay a deposit up front, and then they're going to pay in advance of the next month, right? So we send out an invoice and the invoice doesn't get paid, we'll just stop the service. Like, done, right? Like, well, you're not paying for it, so we're not going to do it. But it keeps us from having to go out on the limb and be in collections mode. Either you want to be with Mañana No Mas or you don't want to be with Mañana No Mas. You either want the benefit of having somebody that, has a flow and a process, or you want to wing it with your nephew and figure out how that goes. And that's the way we started to do things. Now, let me talk about price, because this whole thing was, let's talk about price. Remember at the beginning, I said $500 to $1,000, $500 or $1,000, depending on how difficult it was, $500 or $1,000. Let me tell you some of the things we built for $1,000. We built things like with multiple products, multiple locations. We let people do online training. We had forms. People would fill out forms and get the results of those forms, lead magnets, scheduling, like people that had live events, like bands. Bands would schedule live events. They would sell tickets to their venues. Folks, I was doing some crazy, crazy stuff, crazy cool stuff. $4,000. I'm not proud of it, right? But it's how I learned. And realistically, people that come in off the street and say, "Oh, I'm going to start a WordPress agency," how do they learn? Right? Same thing. You go, "Oh, I could probably do that for you for a couple $100, and I could do this for $300, this for $500." And the first time you charge someone $1,500 for a website, you're like, "Oh my God, I made it." No, you didn't make it. You got a long way to go. All right. So we started not just doubling the price, but in some cases tripling the price. I remember the first time I met with a client and I looked over the table and I said, "Hey, this project sounds a little bit more involved. I could probably get you started for about $3,000, and then there's going to be maintenance and content development that you're going to want to rely on us for. And so let's wrap that in at $1,500 a month. And let's say for the next 24 years, subject to renegotiation at the end of 24 months, not 24 years, 24 months." And I remember the first time I did that, it was a home builder. It was a local home builder. And I went and I met with them and I said, this is a pretty involved website. You're going to want, a different thread of pages for each of the homes that you build, plus the different elevations, plus if you've ever had a house built, you know what I'm talking about, the elevations, like it's the same house, but the pictures of the house look different, right? One has a porch, one has 3 steps to the front door, one has an awning over the front, like they're the same house on the inside, right? So same house, different elevations, different features. And so in this project, I didn't use WordPress. Believe it or not, I used Joomla. I don't know what I was thinking. I used Joomla. Anyway, this and I remember they were like, no, it's going to be a more simple project. I was like, no, what you're describing is going to be very difficult. And so I'm going to need $3,000 to get the project started. And then about $1,500 a month, let's say for the next 24 months. And then we can look at things at the end of the 2 years and we can renegotiate or reduce your services or increase your services, depending on what your needs are. And they were like, okay. And I remember thinking, did I shoot for the moon? Did I shoot for the moon? And the old guy leans back, pulls out a wad of cash in his pocket, and he throws a wad of cash down the table at me. And he goes, "Oh, this enough to get started." Folks, I stopped talking. I took his money. I put it in my briefcase because I had a briefcase at the time. I took his money. I put it in my briefcase. I said, "Thank you, gentlemen. I'll see you next week, and we'll start on your project." And that was it. And I felt like $1 million, right? I'd literally tripled my sale, but not just tripled my sale. I also set up what I thought was a high dollar maintenance and content development scheme. Now let's be real. That website that I built for that company, if I were to build that website today, would be $65,000, $70,000 all day long. And they would be glad to pay it. They would be glad to pay it because they would know what's in charge of it. They would know I was project managing it. They would know I was taking care of it. You see, this is the part that I think Robert was missing in the discussion. See, there's the Kevin side, there's the Robert side. The Kevin side is when you build a website, you're not just building a website. You're becoming a quasi partner with the client. You are aware of their business. You're aware of how they generate money. You're aware of the communication or the signaling, the messaging that would need to broaden their audience. You're working on building a net of eyes to see the website. And then, of course, you're trying to create content or copy, right? That's going to lead to conversion. And you're going to come up with a flow for that, right? So whether you're using a CRM to like funnel message people to get them into a purchase structure or something, you're going to do something, right? Now, the Robert side of this was more like, well, hey, it's just kind of a data query and you're just going to chuck their pictures in there and a couple of descriptions, right? So there's a big difference between the function of making a website and the taking the weight off the client's shoulders and owning the project. And I think that's where a lot of people are missing the boat. Okay. Now, this pricing thing isn't just for website building, right? I've got another example I'm going to go over with you here in just a little bit. But if we take a look at, again, the agency side of things, if I'm going to become a partner with you, if I'm going to, and we're not partners like legal, like I don't have 10% of your business, but I mean, we're going to become like a working facilitating partner with you. I'm going to manage the project. I'm going to have a team of people looking after your content, your images. I'm going to have people checking with your stakeholders at your business. Hey, we haven't seen anything from you in 2 weeks. What's going on there? How can we help you? Like that weight off of a business owner's shoulders has value. And so that's where I think a lot of the agency types are missing. They're missing the flow. They're missing the opportunity because it's like, it's all there, right? You're providing it anyway. When I realized what I was actually doing to build a website for all those customers, and I want to take you all the way back, $500 a website, SVEDC, company makes salsa. And I'm saying, well, how do you guys make the salsa? How many people are on your team in the kitchen? Who does the packaging? Where do the labels come from? How do you guys get it to the truck? How do you sell it to the grocery store? Is the grocery store going to be upset if you sell direct to the public? So to make the website, I have to ask all these questions. As I'm asking these questions, I am consulting that business. This is where a lot of agency people get lost. I'm consulting that business. We're going through the whole thing. Now, I've also consulted 50 other businesses that are in a similar space, right? And so it's like, okay, well, when I worked with the pepperoni guy did it this way, and then the chocolate apples lady did it this way, and then the other salsa lady did it this way. So you're a salsa company, which way would you like to go? And then you start working that out and you help them build their process and you consult them and you help them figure out what their messaging is going to be and how they're going to sell their product. You're not just building a website, you are building their business with them. There is value in that. There's It's completely different. If I'm a web developer and I'm working within an agency, and there's the agency owner that's doing everything I just said, right? And then coming back to the office and saying, you know, here's a Figma design that I want you to emulate and put this logo in here and change this color from green to purple and make me that page. Sure, I get it, right? Maybe at the end of the day, paying them hourly, maybe I'm going to spend $200 or $300. All right. But that doesn't account for all of the other stuff that happened. And so what happens is like freelancers put themselves into that web developer role instead of the agency role. And so when they're pricing things, they think, well, that's going to take me 5 hours. So I can charge, let's see, if I get $60 an hour, I could charge $300. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. You have to compensate yourself like at least double, because at least half of your time is spent in growing your business as a freelancer, not just doing the work of the freelancer, right? And so you have to compensate yourself for a whole gambit of time, not just the little bit of time that you're actually using the keyboard. Let me take this full circle for you. I'm going to go a whole other direction. One of our projects is called the Power Sport Academy. And the Power Sport Academy, when I first launched it, was training for motorcycle dealerships to increase their parts and labor sales. And I had anticipated that 200 dealers would want to sign up for this. I was crazy, but I assumed it was going to be wildly successful right out of the chute. And so I thought, well, if 200 dealers sign up, I could sell it for $1,500 a piece. So $1,500 a dealer for training. So I advertised it for $1,500. Nobody signed up. Nobody signed up. And so I thought, well, something's weird. So I put a few dealers in for free. And I said, hey, because I'm friends with dealerships, so I said, hey, I'm going to give you free access to this training. I want your service writers and service managers to take the training. And then I want you to give me some feedback on why you would or wouldn't purchase this training. And at the end, I got some very surprising information. It was, this course is awesome. This course is great. This course has increased our parts and labor sales. That's exactly what it was supposed to do. That was exactly what it was supposed to do. But my boss would never write a check for $1,500 for this course. And I thought, that's weird. If you were able to increase your parts and labor sales by 40, 50, 80, $100,000, why wouldn't you pay $1,500 to get those secrets? And they said, why? Because $1,500 ain't enough. $1,500 doesn't hurt. For $1,500, I'm assuming I'm getting crap. I'm getting nothing. I'm getting no value. It's got to hurt. It's got to be like 10 grand. It's got to be 10, 13, $14,000 before a dealer is going to write a check for this, because anything less than $10,000 is going to imply that the product isn't good. Ding, 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 ding. So what was I just talking about with agencies? Can you build a website for $500? Yeah, of course you can. Can you build a website for $1,000? Yeah, of course you can. Can you build a website just a little bit better? Put a little more time into the copywriting, maybe a little better flow and integration with the CRM, and build in some email funnels, right? Now all of a sudden you're at a $10, $11, $12,000 website. You see where I'm going, folks? You have to sell based on the results and the value rather than the actual function of building something. Because if you're a professional, you're going to be bringing that to the table. So let me take it back to the Power Sport Academy. If you go to the Power Sport Academy right now, powersportacademy.com, and you click on memberships, you're going to see that we now offer dealership memberships. Well, we'll train the whole staff one-on-one. We'll train the whole staff for up to a year for $45,000. Folks, that is the power of value. That's the power of what you bring to the table and understanding your messaging. So if somebody wants just the course, just the information in the course, no coaching, no consulting, no feedback, they just want access to the learning, they can buy that for $700. See where I'm going? You can buy the bare bones, whatever, $700. You want the coaching, the expertise, the processes, you want that. Well, then that is where you're going to start spending, $30,000, $40,000. It should be the same when someone's dealing with an agency. And I feel like I am on Kevin's side of this argument more than Robert's at this point. To watch this yesterday was like watching the fireworks. It was like seeing two great minds in the space on two completely different platforms. And at some points it seemed like they almost weren't even talking to each other because they were so far disconnected on the concepts. But Kevin's saying you can't can't ever work with a customer and build them a website for less than $5,000. And it wasn't that long ago. There were other people in the WordPress space that said, my pricing starts at $5,000. And people said, oh, you're ripping people off. Are you? Are you ripping people off? If you give them a product and you consult with them and their business increases by six figures, did you rip them off? No, of course you didn't rip them off. You provided them an unbelievable value. And that's where that comes in. There are some people, all they want to do is push the keyboard and do the work, right? Almost like they should subcontract for an agency, right? You don't want to be involved with the customer. You don't want to be involved with the copywriting. You just want to take the actions. You just want to build the pages and put the content in. That's great. Go get a job doing that. Go get a job that pays $50, $60 an hour. Go get a job doing that. That's fantastic. But if you want to be the person selling, maintaining, building, interacting with, problem solving, if you want that, then I agree with Kevin. You got to start at least $5,000. And it's interesting at Mañana No Mas, looking at our pricing structure, because I don't want to be a hypocrite, go to the mañananomas.com page right now, mañananomas.com, and you'll see under our services, we offer two distinct pathways to work with us. Mañana No Mas is a very capable agency. We can do SCORM learning websites, membership websites, e-commerce websites, a combination of all three of those. We can get you where you need to go, right? So we can have those conversations. We can talk about $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 websites absolutely all day long. We also exist in a small town in Kansas, and we have a bunch of productized, templatized product. What does that mean? That means if a small startup comes to us and says, I really just need a website for my food truck, I really just need a website for my laundromat, I really just need a website we go, hey, no problem. We got a template for that. We can get you started for a $1,500 startup fee. It's a template. You add your own pictures and words. We give you some training on how to do that, right? And then it's $79 a month for hosting and maintenance. We take care of all the plugins. You don't have to worry about the website once you build it. You just run your business. That's completely different than, this whole custom discovery and enterprise building idea, right? So we attack our issues with two different pathways. So if you're a startup or a very small business with a limited budget, but you need a web presence, we got a template and a productized offer that's going to meet your needs. And we've got one for construction. I'm just thinking of the ones we have. We have one for online courses. We have one for construction. We have one for food trucks. We have one for consultants. And then we've got some generic templates as well. But these are set up like with a CRM, with an appointment setter, with e-commerce. Like we have them set up as templates for those industries. Like what tools would you generally need for that industry? Boom, here's a templated site setup. So it's $1,500. You add your own pictures and text, publish it, and we take care of all the updates. $1,500 setup, $79 a month. I can't do much better than that. If you've got a nephew that's going to throw together a $500 website for you, perfect. I mean, if you look at what it's going to cost to host you on Squarespace and you still got to learn and figure it all out, I think we got a heck of a bargain here. Okay. But I think that kind of splits things really well. Now, what does that tell you? Did you read between the lines there? For us at Mañana No Mas, again, just for us, that $5,000 website that Kevin was talking about, in most cases, I'm not going to work with that. If someone wants to go from the $1,500 startup package into more of a custom design or into a different project, and I've got a working relationship with them already, absolutely we'll upgrade them and take them through the process. But if someone comes to me and like, I've got a $5,000 budget and I want to build a custom website in WordPress, chances are I'm going to pass them on to another agency. I'll meet with them. I'll do a needs assessment with them a little bit. And I'll say, hey, you might be better off working with Linda. You might be better off working with, and give them a referral to something else. Because those mid-tier projects really don't fit into my space very well. Okay. So everyone's different. But that pricing thing is something that you need to discover. When I am networking with power sports dealers, there's a lot of questions that are like the first questions, right? So there's a lot of questions I go through with these dealers when I consult with them. One of them is, what is your shop rate? You would be amazed at how many motorcycle dealerships I'll talk to, and they'll say, well, our service rate's been $95 an hour, and it's been that way for 12 years, and we can't raise it because our customers will freak out. And I'm like, well, do you understand the dealership across the street is charging $140 an hour? Yeah, but we're at $95 an hour. We've been at $95 an hour now for like 12 years. Yeah, change it. You need to charge the value of what you're going to offer. So if the value has increased and everyone's used to paying $130, $140, $150 an hour for labor, well, then you need to be $130, $140, $150 an hour for labor. If you think you're offering people a deal at $95 an hour, what you're really doing is saying, we're not qualified to charge retail. Come to us for a bargain and it may or may not work. You see, people are missing the backside of that argument. And so in a lot of cases, I'm having dealers raise their labor rates. In a lot of cases, I'm having dealers add fees to their work. In a lot of cases, and then customers would say, well, that you sound like you're trying to teach people how to rip people off. No. Very ethically, you tell people, this is what we do. This is what we charge. This is what your bill is going to be. Like we have this whole thing on ethical training, but you have to charge the value of what it is you offer, or people will not see the value in what you offer. It's a very delicate line, Well, folks, I'm going to wrap this one up. It's been a bit. It's been about 40 minutes already. So thoughts, questions, share your story about when you realized you needed to increase your price. I would love to see those comments come in. I would love someone that's had a real experience with this. I'd love to make you a guest on the Mañana No Mas podcast, bring you on and discuss like what it was like, especially if you're a medium to large company and you're talking about a price increase. Like it would be really cool to have that conversation and let other people kind of hear what that negotiation was like. Because if you're a medium to large company, I'm sure you had a group of people in a room and you were like, no, we need to raise the price. And other people are like, we can't ever raise the price. And then you end up having these discussions. And then you do it. And then you find out, oh my goodness, we should have raised our price a year ago. I would love to maybe get somebody like that on a future episode of the Mañana No Mas podcast to have that discussion. I think that this topic is very, very magnetic. I saw a lot of interaction on the Kevin and Robert interview yesterday. To watch those two banter back and forth in the WordPress space about the value of a WordPress website was crazy. Like, what comes in a $5,000 website? What comes in a $5,000 website that doesn't come in a $500 website? And it was really interesting to see what people talked about. Now, I'm used to building dynamic websites. Like I said, e-commerce, membership, learning websites, dealing with students, enrollments, and all these things. But if you listen to this conversation with Kevin and Robert, and I think I put the link in the description to this video, if you listen to that, Kevin's not talking about e-commerce and appointment setting and all these things. He's talking about like making a one-page landing page or something like that for $5,000. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to see the perspective of one person who is resolute in their position and another person that is resolute in their position, and see them come together and talk about those things. And it makes you think afterwards. You're like, where am I at? What should I be doing? How should I change my process? Like I said, for Mañana No Mas, I realized we have a lot of startup opportunity. We have a lot of people that we want to start relationships with. And that's where they come into that $1,500 startup site, $79 a month for maintenance, and they can set it and forget it. They can go run their business, and we can make sure that, hey, if you're a landscaper, you got a website to go, so you can set up to go cut lawns, go cut the lawns. We'll keep the website up. Like that to me that's a very workable model. Very workable model. And then we've got clients that we do, complete SCORM packages for universities and whatnot. And so for that, obviously that is a whole different scale of talking, right? So we've got the $1,500 site, we've got the $60,000 website and more, right? It's those ones in the middle for us that we tend to really kind of have a struggle with here at Mañana No Mas. But the good news is, come to us anyway. We'll do a needs assessment with you. We'll walk you through a couple of things. We'll do a short little consultation. Chances are I've got a really great person in my network that I can connect you with, and we can still get you handled, get you done, and make you happy. All right, folks, I'm going to end this one. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.